After a long hiatus, hello and welcome back to Chiefsman's Corner. I'm your host, Coach Winuvas of the Rice Owls in our VCFA League. Today I'll be talking about the community's plans for Madden 27, as well as our changes to VCFA for the upcoming college football 27 cycle. We're nearly at the end of our 14th season in the VCFA after starting in college football 25, and while we are small, for me it's an enjoyable experience that's brought the fun back in football video game for me. As you all know, I retired from Madden play after Madden 25 cycle, or actually at the beginning of Madden 25 cycle. It ended prematurely due to, honestly, I was burned out and the game just wasn't fun. Just point blank. Madden wasn't fun anymore. And the whole point of a video game is to have fun. And I wasn't having fun. Like, it was nothing against the guys. It was nothing against the league, running the league. It just, the game itself that we were playing just wasn't fun. At the same time, I started playing college football at that same time frame. Fell in love with the gameplay and the fun of a football video game. While it is still an EA product and all the things that has to deal with. For me, it's been a refreshing 2 cycles of college football that has reinvigorated me from a content perspective. If you've tuned into this, whether you're watching the recording of this, welcome aboard. Please leave some comments for me to interact with. I'll try and be available whenever I put this live, which will hopefully be at the time of recording Friday evening, June 12th. If you're watching this at any time, though, thank you for watching. Any and all support is appreciated. Without you guys, this community doesn't exist. So, as a lead-in kind of to my discussion with Madden earlier, I do have to start this podcast with a little bit of more somber news. As I said, we're going to discuss our community's future with the Madden video game. And as you all know, Clyde took over for WFL commissioner after I stepped aside in Madden 25 and ran it through Madden 25 and Madden 26. And after the end of 26, he has decided not to pick up Madden 27. He has, I think, experienced the same thing I have as far as burnout. He's been playing in the VCFA with us and has seemed to enjoy himself a lot. I want to state first and foremost, I want to thank him so much for doing that. I didn't ask him to do it. He kind of took it of his own volition. And he's done a lot for this community since he's been here, and he's been here quite a while now. He's been a stalwart leader here in this community space, in this Discord server. And his contributions have been and will always be appreciated by me. And every other person that's helped run this community, but he's taken it up since day one, and it's very much appreciated. That being said, we don't have any leadership in place to run WFL for the Madden 27 cycle. So what that means is, for now, we are shuttering WFL. We're not going to be deleting the channels that we have created. We're not going to be deleting any roles we have. We want that space to still be there for guys to communicate, because we have guys that are no longer in WFL but still communicate with us from time to time. Don't play the game anymore. And we're going to keep the rules around in case we get to a point where we have interest and desire and leadership that want to run it. But we don't have any strong leadership right now to run WFL. And I feel like without that strong leadership to make sure it's seen as an elite league like it was, I don't feel it's in our best interest to run a shell of itself just to do it. If you decide to leave the community as a result, I do wish you well. I don't want you to leave. If you want to stick around and chit chat, you're always welcome. But if you decide that, hey, I was only here for Madden and y'all aren't doing Madden anymore, so I'm out, and you dip, I hope that you find a league that fits you and don't settle for anything less than a league that you feel comfortable with and that you enjoy. Now, that will probably cause some strife and anger amongst those of you who are here specifically for our Madden League. I do want to extend an invitation to join the VCFA, our college football league. This cycle, we plan on implementing a few things more than what we had year one. Year one was kind of, I took over VCFA at the end of the college football 25 cycle because guys were ready to put it down for the cycle and I wasn't. So I took it over at that point, and then football 26, college football 26, I started instituting some ideas I wanted to do, which I'll cover a couple of them in later on. But this year is going to be kind of the year I kind of branch out like they've done with Dynasty Mode. I'm kind of hitting the ground running as far as things that we're going to add that make us more like the WFL. So if you are familiar with the WFL's kind of standard that we set, I'm looking to do the same thing in the VCFA. And after kind of being a little soft in year one at the end of the college football 25 cycle, and then doing a little bit of what I wanted in year one and official full year cycle in 26, I want to add a bunch more into 27 to hopefully kind of get us where I'd like us to be. Um, and the first thing we're going to talk about that's going to be new for VCFA is something that probably sounds familiar. In fact, I copied this from an old podcast, old Chiefsman's Corner, and kind of edited it a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about involving VCFA is the league's new incentive plan. The incentive plan allows you to get some perks that aren't available for every member simply by doing some extracurricular activities that involve VCFA. These points can earn you chat levels that bring with them extra perks that you can't get any other way. Anything that makes the VCFA a more immersive experience and increases its presence in the college football community earns you some sort of credit. If it sounds vaguely familiar, it's our old WFL incentive plan that we're basically turning over to VCFA for the college football 27 cycle. So it will work in a similar fashion. I've already written out the incentive, the incentive tiers. The only thing I haven't done is put in the names for them yet, but I was going to whenever we got closer to the college football 27 release. But it's going to be very, very, very similar to WFL's incentive plan in that you'll hit a certain chat level. When you hit a certain chat level, you'll get extra perks above and beyond all-season regimen points and things of that nature. You'll get extra stuff that you will be able to do that no other member will do unless they achieve those chat tiers. The next thing to discuss is our rules changes for the upcoming cycle. There's a lot of changes to Dynasty. If you're not familiar, if you haven't been watching the vids as far as any sort of updates to Dynasty, I can tell you from playing the beta, Dynasty will be a huge difference this year. It will be a lot more intensive if you want it to be. And personally, I love that. But essentially, to give you kind of a bare bones idea, each school, depending on the prestige and the size of the school, will have a certain budget of, quote, dynasty points. Look at it as NIL money. But they call it dynasty points. And the dynasty points go towards facilities. They go towards staff, which you can hire different types of staff that can give you temporary or permanent bonuses. Your facilities give you a permanent bonus. And you also use those dynasty points. I keep wanting to say money. It's dynasty points. You use those points to attract recruits because recruits now of a certain vintage, a certain lineage, a certain 3-star and above, especially 4 stars and 5 stars, and most 3 stars, will require NIL money or dynasty points to even consider walking on your campus. And the less prestige you have, so the crappier school you have, the more points it's going to cost you. So with that in mind, that's a big change to Dynasty Mode. It's going to really affect how things flow. And another big change that I am stoked about is the coaching carousel has finally seen a massive overhaul. If you're not familiar with the coaching carousel, basically the last 2 cycles, you could go undefeated with a lower tier team and you might get an offer to be a defensive coordinator for an equally crappy team. It was not realistic. If you had a good season, you never got a call from a big school, like maybe that's a bottom feeder in a Power 5 or Power 4, I should say, conference. You never got a call, and it was always frustrating, especially like in this cycle. I took over. I started at New Mexico, and ran 3 seasons in New Mexico and had a pretty solid record. Never got any sort of offer. In fact, the only offer I got the year I left was for the Rice job. In the Rice job, the previous coach had gone 1-11, and they were a half-star prestige. And I had won like 24 games. I went like 24-11 or 24-12, which I mean doesn't sound great, but like you would think another school that has had rough times would at least go, well, hey, he had success at New Mexico. Then I get to Rice and I proceed to go like 34 and I think 10 over the 3 seasons I've been there and have not gotten a sniff from anything. Like I haven't even gotten a head coaching offer at another school. I think the last coaching cycle, I got an offer to be Kennesaw State's defensive coordinator, and they were a 0-star prestige, and I'm like, that's a joke. That's changed completely. It is definitely different. Having played the beta, you will now see you can now apply for up to 6 jobs, and you can apply for any head coaching job. Some of them will pop in as they're interested in you, and they'll be at the top of your list, and they'll be in order from first to sixth. You can apply for up to 6, and you can be anywhere from 1 to 6 on a school's interest meter. You can apply for any open head coaching job. So you can go after, like in my experience, the first season, Michigan's job opened up. So I applied for it. I didn't get it because I was coaching at Navy, and they were. I think I finished 3-9. I simulated all my games, and I did get offers though from shoot. I got offers from power conferences. I think is the big point there. And that is something that would not have happened at all in 26 with a 3-9 record, much less with even with a winning record, much less a losing record. So that being said, the coaching carousel is vastly changed. So with that in mind, anyone who joins VCFA for college football 27, whether you're coming back from doing it in 26 and 25, or you're starting out brand new with us in 27, we will all be in what I'm calling the group of 5 schools. Now, I know in real life it's the group of 6 because the Pac 12 is not considered a power conference anymore. Anyway, um, but we will be picking from schools from these conferences: the Mountain West, Conference USA, the Sun Belt, the Mid American, the MAC, and the American Conference. Now, that being said, if you think you know what teams are in those conferences, you're probably right for most of it, but not all of it. We do in VCFA, we do custom conferences with custom divisions. So essentially, we have reverted to a more geographical setup. So if you're familiar with college football at all, you probably know that in the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, which is on the East Coast, the right coast, there are teams like Stanford and I want to say UCLA. I think are in there. I don't think UCLA is in the Big Ten, but there are teams that are from the West Coast in the Atlantic Coast Conference. That is dumb. That is stupid. I understand it's for money's sake in real life, but this isn't real life. This is a video game. So what we've done is we basically rebuilt the Pac-12. So your USC's, your Oregon's, your Oregon States, your Washington States are all back in the Pac-12, along with Boise State is the only one we left that we're leaving alone and bumping up into the Pac-12. That being said, the new schools, and also every team is in a conference. So there is no independence. So Notre Dame is actually in the Big Ten in our league and what's the other? UConn is in the MAC. So just to give you an idea of what we've changed around. So be aware if you join when you first start, you will be forced to join a group of 5 school from those conferences. So you're going to be joining the lower tier schools, which means you're going to start at a lower tier school and you're going to be creating a brand new coach. Now, that being said, we also do a promotion relegation system similar to Premier League football. If you're not familiar with that setup, essentially your conference champions in your lower tier conferences, if there are enough prestige of school, we say 2 stars or better prestige, you get promoted to your Power 5 conference affiliate. So, for example, when I was coaching in New Mexico, I won the Mountain West in our league, and Once I did that, I got promoted because I had enough prestige. I got promoted to the Pac-12, so I was running with, Stanford and USC as New Mexico. So, uh, but that being said, you can also be relegated. So essentially, when I moved up, I believe that year, I want to say Arizona or Arizona State moved down. So there will be movement between those things as far as going up and going down. You cannot go down if you're a certain prestige point. So it's like if you're 2.5 stars or higher, you stay in your conference that you are, and we try and demote maybe the next one down, or we'll just have an uneven conference for a year. Um, but that being said, we do have promotion and relegation, so you can get your school bumped in with the big boys. So, like for example, if you're in the Sun Belt and you win with a Sun Belt team, you win the Sun Belt championship, and you're enough prestige, you'll jump into the SEC with the big boys. So that's going to be a little bit tougher, but just know that there are ways that you can improve your squad and get them up to those big levels. Or we ask you when you first start to play at least one season as one of those lower tier schools. But if in the off season, if you get a coaching carousel offer and you get an offer to coach at a Power 5 school, jump to it. We're not restricting you from that initial point. So for those of you that are new, or I should say, those of you that are veterans, if you're worried about your school that you root for maybe not hiring you anytime soon, be aware that if that job does open up, you can apply for it. And if you get it, you'll be allowed to move. There isn't going to be no restrictions on that. But that first year, at least, or first time you're jumping in, you will be at a bottom end school to start, but you can move up. Whether it's making your team good enough to jump into the big conference, or you get a job at a school you really like and you jump to that school outright. So that will hopefully be our nice happy medium for those that I'm probably going to disappoint, because I know college football is a lot more fervor in their fandom. So like you have your team and you root for your team no matter what. But I'm hoping this is our nice happy medium to where we all start at the same level, kind of on the same tier, and our skills determine whether or not we move up, whether it's moving up using the team we build up or moving up Lane Kiffin style and just jumping to a school whenever it first comes open. Um, so I wanted to let you know that's going to be the way we do things. So if you're concerned about that, or if you want to know what teams are going to be in those conferences, if you're want to see what teams are exactly available in those lower tiers, just reach out to me and I'll be glad to send you a link with a spreadsheet that has all that information ready for College Football 27. Also has the two new teams that are going to be there, Sacramento State and North Dakota State. They are put into conferences in our custom league. North Dakota State is going to be in the MAC if you're concerned, and Sacramento State is going to be in the Mountain West. So just letting you know, the VCFA also is going to be moving more to WFL style, or is already in that same vein as far as play calling goes. There's going to be a couple of changes I'll talk about with play calling. But as far as scheduling, we're moving more to the WFL mold of scheduling. We're going to move to 72-hour advances rather than 48, which is what we've been doing. But I want to put a caveat on that. At the 36-hour mark of our week, we will track, and if you have not posted that you plan to play your game, even if it's just, if we all we ask in that scheduling threads that we create is that you just say, hey, I plan on playing my game. Like, you don't have to say any more than that. We would like more from a number standpoint, but to start, to get us back in the habit of posting, all I'm requiring by 36 hours is I plan to play my game. Then we're going to go to 72 hours. If nothing is posted after 36 hours, your game is subject to being simulated. And by the way, in VCFA, we simulate with injuries on. We never simulate with injuries off. So if you want to make sure your guys stay healthy, your best bet is to play the games, because there's significantly less injury in a game that you play versus a game that's simulated. I'm going to tell you right now. So that being said, simulation, we never turn injuries off, ever, ever, ever. So if you simulate, you have a chance to lose players. Be aware of that. Also be aware, this is a sidebar that I just thought about, there will be practice. Every week you'll have practice to run, and there's a potential for injuries in practice as well. Unless you tell everybody to sit out, and if you tell everybody to sit out, they have a chance to start cold in the next game, and if they start cold, they're going to be harder to get going. So there's a little bit of nuance in every week that you'll have to dance around as well. Every year, you're going to be required to declare an offensive and defensive scheme. For those of you that are veterans to VCFA, you know this, but I'm mainly telling this for the new guys or potential new guys. Every year, you will be required by the end of week 0, to declare a scheme for offense and defense. And all you have to declare is you declare a general scheme, like for example, on offense, spread option, or air raid. However, once you declare that particular scheme, you have to use an offensive playbook, whether it's a team-based playbook or a generic playbook that runs that offense. So, like for example, I am running air raid in my Rice Dynasty. I'm running the air raid offense. I run the air raid generic playbook because the Mad Pirate, Mike Leach, that was his playbook. It's actually his legitimate playbook, so I kind of do that as an homage to him. But you do not have to run generic, but you do have to select a team playbook that matches that thing. So you would have to find a team playbook that specifically says air raid on it to be able to run that. And you can change throughout the year as long as that playbook has air raid or whatever offensive scheme you decide. As long as it has it in there, you can run it and you can change it during the season. But it has to be of that particular genre of play calling. And it's going to be the same thing for defense. Defense is going to have a big change, though, because defense is going from 9 stock playbooks to 31 or 32. And there will be some changes around that as well that I'll discuss more in the gameplay side. But just be aware that you'll be declaring schemes every season. If you don't declare a scheme, you will default to the defaults for your team if you've never declared a scheme before. So say you're running, for example, Michigan. If you don't declare a scheme, you have to run Michigan's playbook on offense and defense. You can't deviate at all from that. If you declare, you can deviate as long as it's in that scheme fit. But otherwise, you won't be able to default. If you don't declare anything, it's either default or the last declared scheme you have. So we'll have a list every season of what you declare. If you declare season 1 and then the next season you don't, you have to do what you did in season 1. Period. And it's a way for us to kind of keep tabs and keep control over gameplay in that regard. It's not a huge deal, I don't think. It's kind of a fun way to kind of keep folks in line as far as gameplay goes, because there are a lot of games or a lot of teams out there, so not everybody will be user controlled. Gameplay changes. The quarterback sneak will no longer be banned. It is now not 100% automatic anymore. It's on a timing-based system, so it is skill-based. And with it being skill-based, I'm more open to it being opened up. Now, one thing I was asked, and I'm going to address it right now, just because, and it's up for debate. I'm still open to it, but at this point, there is the option to do catch mechanics where timing is based on catches. I would prefer not to do that. I think the way we do our modified no switch is kind of our nice happy compromise between complete no switch and switching every single play and trying to make a play on the ball. I like our setup that we have. However, if new blood comes in and they want to use the catching mechanics, I'm open to discussing it. But at this point, we're not going to use the catching mechanics that are in the game. But the quarterback sneak, because it's a timing-based mechanic, will be unbanned for College Football 27. The 70-30 rule, if you're familiar with that from WFL, it is in VCFA, but we're going to make a couple of tweaks to it as far as on offense. There is one particular offensive set called the option. If you're familiar with the service academies, they run the triple option. That particular style of gameplay usually is all run or mostly all run, no pass. We're going to mimic that by allowing, if you declare the option scheme, you can run up to 100% of the time with the option playbook. So you can run every play if you are declared as an option team. Okay? That's only if you declare as an option team. If you don't declare as an option team, everything else 70-30 rule applies. Another big change, if you want to run coach mode in VCFA, you can. So it's more of a GM style setup, and coach mode has been tweaked quite a lot, and this may change. So it's not 100% set in stone, but I want to put that out there that we're wanting to do this. In the past, when we've wanted to do GM only leagues or where guys don't want a user, we've had to run two separate leagues because guys that want a GM and guys that want a player are two different breeds. Now we can merge them together because coach mode will allow us to do that. So a guy can actually coach the plays, call the plays, let the CPU execute, and be a more of a recruiter, just enjoyer of the game and just, let it play out versus being in there and having control on the sticks. So with that being said, we are going to be allowing coach mode simultaneously with our league. So if you're not a person that wants to user every game, but you want to coach and you want to be in control, you will be allowed to do that. However, as with all things we do, streaming will be required no matter what. So even if you run coach mode 100% of the time, you will be required to stream the games, even though there's zero chance of you cheating, because we want to make sure from a gameplay standpoint you're calling plays correctly. That's the big thing. Off season is going to have a couple of tweaks as well. Those of you that are veterans to VCFA, I sat down a month or two ago and penciled out all the different steps we're going to have in the off-season process and then put time frames to them. Some of these time frames, I'm not going to lie, are going to be kind of tight. Some of them are going to be a 12-hour turnaround. Some of them will be 24-hour turnaround. The 12-hour turnarounds, I tried to make it an overnight thing. So that way, I know guys, we're older now. We all have lives. We all have responsibilities. I want to make sure that you guys have that time, even if it's a couple of minutes, to step in there and do what you need to do. But I'm trying to also speed things up because I will say, from the standpoint of someone who hasn't been in the college football playoff at all this cycle, man, after you're done with your bowl game, it's a boring time to just sit there and wait for stuff to do. So I'm trying to speed up that process a little bit. So I hope I've got a schedule set up, and we're going to run with it that first season. If we need to make tweaks to it, though, I'm going to be open to making tweaks to it. But I want us to be open to, we're going to be moving on more of a quick cycle. And with this being a non-Madden setup where we have to have windows and stuff to make sure people can't snipe and do stuff like that, it's going to be a set advance time. So whenever that time shows up on the ticket, that's when we advance. We don't advance early. The only reason we would advance early in any stage is if everybody sets is ready to advance. Now, our current crop of members are really good at that for the most part. So I hope we can continue that. Any new players we have, every time you finish a game, set yourself as ready to advance if you're done with everything you got to do. Because if everybody sets as ready to advance, we jump early. And if we jump early, we can go through seasons that much quicker. So please, if you're a veteran and you've been doing that, continue. If you're going to be a newcomer and you're jumping in, please get in the habit of, when you're done with recruiting and you're done with your game, if you have one, set yourself as ready to advance. Now, we'll tell you, both new and old, whenever I go into the game, I usually, especially if there's a bye week involved, I will set you to autopilot so the CPU does stuff. Because I don't know if you've done anything or not, based on I don't see a check mark. So if I get close to advance and I don't see anything, I'm going to put you as autopilot to advances if we get to that time frame, okay? So be aware that we will tweak with this time system, but I want to keep it tight so that way we can get back to playing games and doing stuff as quickly as possible. So bear with me that first season as we get that process in place. Give me feedback on it whenever we get done with it. Is it too long? Is it too short? Do we need to lengthen some things? Just be open to it the first season and give me ideas to improve it for the next season, okay? If you want to join us in VCFA, please reach out to me and I will be glad to get you into the channels and answer any questions you might have. And as the last little bit, for College Football 27, I am going to attempt, and this is going to be tough for me, to return to doing, quote, regular podcasts for the VCFA. I want to get back to doing Chiefsman's Corner. It's one of the few things I miss doing for Madden. I had a snippet in Madden 26 where I used the trial to help y'all do a Buckman's Big Board, and it was a lot of fun, even though it was a lot of work. It's some of the it's enjoyable work, and so it's really not work. I enjoy doing these podcasts. I may not be the best at them, but I enjoy doing them, and I want to get back to doing them on a semi-regular basis. But my life has changed a lot in the last year or so. If you're not aware, I think I mentioned this when I left WFL. My wife retired in September of 2025. She had been in the Mississippi school system or Mississippi state system for 25 years, and due to some things we've had going on in our life, it was the perfect time for her to step away from her job as a librarian of 25 years, and so she is home a lot now. And so she and I are both, me more than her, are adapting. So part of that adaptation is me finding time like now. She's at her parents for the couple days, so I've using that time to do this. I do want to get back to doing this on a more regular basis for the VCFA, but the problem is the VCFA doesn't have the access to stuff like what WFL and Neon Sports does. Neon Sports is still a tool we use, but it doesn't import like what Madden does. That being said, if you join the VCFA or you're part of the VCFA, here's what I want to do with Chiefsman's Corner moving forward. I want it to be a highlights podcast. What I want you to do is after your game, if you could go in and give me one or two clips a game of big plays, whether it's after the game is over, you go back in and look at highlights, or whether it's during your stream, you just pop a cap, this is the play I want to show you. Clip it, send it to me. If I get enough participation from enough teams, I will get on and do a highlight show where I get the stats from your game for that particular week. I go over some base stats and I pop those one or two plays up, and I pop up hopefully I think I can find a site that I can do up the final scores. So that way I can do it more like a Sports Center style highlight package. That's kind of what I want to do. And I want to keep it short, 10 to 15 minutes maybe. Also, probably will be doing this twice a month that may change. That's kind of the general game plan, is twice a month. So I might be doing multiple weeks. So I might kind of cram. It depends on what highlights I'm getting from what week as to how I do it. But I want to have some highlights to show when I do these podcasts. So I want to be able to pop it up on screen, have you guys look at it, kind of marvel at it, and get us talking about the league and talking about big plays and stuff like that. That's what I want to do with this. If you can assist me in that endeavor, I'll make it work. I want to make it work, but if I don't get enough participation, I'm not going to push for it. I'm hoping that you guys can provide me with a couple of clips. And if you decide you just want to do your own shows and do recordings of your own shows that contribute toward your incentive plan, feel free to do that too. I don't have to do the Chiefsman's Corner, but I would like to, and I may do it if it's not a clips show. I might just be a recap of a couple of weeks worth of action. And if you want to send me, like, for example, guys you've recruited, like hard commit recruited, guys that are guaranteed to be at your school and can't be flipped, send me that stuff. Send me pictures, like screenshots of that stuff. I want to use that as part of the podcast. I want to get us to where every couple of weeks a show comes on, you guys tune in, you guys watch, and you gotta see what's going on around the entirety of our college football dynasty. I want it to be a living, breathing environment. That being said, I'm not looking to make this a 32 team league. Like, I'm not looking for 32 owners. I'm not looking to be full. If we get full, great. But I'm looking for a smaller, more dedicated group. I want us to just get back to talking in chat. Chat has been very quiet across the spectrum, and I understand why. Because we're playing a lot of CPU games, and CPU isn't that entertaining, and you can't really talk back and forth to your opponents and stuff like that because it's CPU. That doesn't mean we can't be excited about our games, excited about what's going on with our team, excited about recruits, and be vocal about that in the chats. And that's where I'm hoping the incentive plan comes in, because every little chat you do in chat, every time you say something in chat, you get experience points. So not only you don't have to do a show if you don't want to, you don't have to do any content if you don't want to, but if you schedule and talk regularly in chat, you'll slowly gain chat levels as well. I just want us to get to a point where we're talking as a group about what's going on with our team and our league as a whole. And I think we've been missing that the last couple of seasons. And I hope that maybe if I can bring the corner back, even in a modified state or in a less state, as my phone keeps going off, sorry about that. Um, I'm hoping that we can get to that point where we have this content regularly coming out that you guys can tune into, that you guys help contribute to, and we can kind of get the VCFA on an upward trajectory. Um, with that, I am done with. I put on the script short. It wasn't short. I'm sorry, but it's bittersweet because of the announcement about WFL. Um, I do hope to do a good chunk more of these podcasts for VCFA moving forward, and I do hope genuinely that some of our WFL folks that maybe partake of this podcast when it goes live, because it should pop up in your WFL network feed. And I may go ahead and make an announcement for you guys to watch. I'm hoping that you guys will think about converting over to VCFA and playing with us in that cycle. I'm hoping that we can get a lot more camaraderie there. But either way, whether you're stepping aside from us because WFL was your thing, or you join us in VCFA, or you just hang around and chat, whatever you're doing with us, I want you to know I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you got something from this show. Any engagement on this, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's something in between, it helps the community gain presence. And as always, until the next time I can open it up anyway, the corner is closed.